The recent attacks, killings and destruction of property witnessed in some selected communities in Plateau State are not the case of farmer-herder clashes, as that's been reported, but pure acts of banditry and land-grabbing missions. Governor Mutfwang made this known at an event where he hosted the Governing Council of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, led by former President of the Senate, Ken Namani. Senior reporter Funum Joshua has more.
Insecurity disrupting some selected communities in Plateau State has not been the alleged farmer-herder clash, as has been reported in some media outlets, but a pure act of banditry and land grabbing. Handling the situation as a mere case of farmer-herder clash would not solve the situation. Governor Mutfwang made the development known when he hosted the Governing Council of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, led by the former President of the Senate, Ken Namani.
I seize every opportunity to say this loud and clear, that when we mischaracterize a situation, we proffer the wrong solutions. And it has not been, at least I can say this, that in the last decade, it has not been about farmers-herders clash. This has been an orchestrated banditry that has the undertone of land grabbing, and I'm sure that I told Professor Montayo that I'm sure when you submit your report to Mr. President, it will be taken more seriously than many other sources of information. And therefore, we have a duty to let Mr. President know the truth about what is happening here, so that we can be able to proffer the right solutions going forward.
On the contribution of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Mr. Mutfwang thanked the Institute for taking its time to come up with fact-finding on the insecurity in the affected communities.
And most recently, they did a study on the security situation on the plateau, and they made some far-reaching recommendations on the situation, which we are implementing by the grace of God.
News is here to pay a courtesy call to you, to learn from you, to hear from you what NIPS can be doing to forge good relationships.
The invasion of communities in Plateau State is a threat to national sovereignty. Treating it with soft hands will not change the situation. Funum Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
Funum joins me now on the news at 10. What more do we know about government's efforts to end in this crisis, Funum?
Thank you, Nifemi, for having me. You see, Governor Mutfwang, one of the points he makes, as you rightly had it on the reports, it's the government have done so much in initiating policies, coming up, inviting the warring communities to see how they can put an end to this, recurring challenge. Now, I'm talking about the farmer-herder conflict, which the governor is not, he's saying it's no longer the farmer-herder, conflict. It's now targeted at, land grabbing, genocide, as well as, banditry. Now, you see, the governor, what he actually emphasized today, it's for those that, have access to Mr. President to really tell him the reality about what is happening here in Plateau State across some of these selected communities. It's no longer the farmer-herder clash, but this is a different, way of attack, targeted at, displacing locals, for land grabbing and other, missions, So the governor is calling at the authorities now to come up with measures that would actually, tackle this menace, not the farmer-herder conflict, but the authority should look at it in a way they are looking at the banditry in Zamfara and other places, you understand? Because if you are tackling this challenge that locals are passing through in Plateau, looking at it as a farmer-herder clash, then it will be difficult to see to the end of this at the moment, but then it has to be beyond the farmer-herder conflict. That is what the governor is, is appealing at the moment.
There are genuine concerns as to whether or not sub-regional governments are overwhelmed, given how incessant these attacks have been. But what have you seen as a means of collaboration between your governor and the federal government in recent times?
Yeah, not even Plateau. We're seeing the likes of Benue and other, states that are passing through these similar situations across the North Centrals, coming up together. Recently, they held a meeting in Benue that they are looking at coming up together to stand and reinforce, as well as no longer being a state, standing on its own now, coming together as states that have been bedeviled by this, and come up with more proactive measures to see how they can put an end to this down. Coming up, this unity and this stand by this governors is one priority at the moment that, people seize it as a welcome development, and they look forward to them coming up with a stronger measures, beyond just what we've been seeing that might likely put an end to these incessant attacks across some of these communities.
And Josh, thanks for the update there.